Courageous love now. Courageous love now. Courageous love now. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Courageous Love Now. Courageous Lara here, and this is my second interview, and today I have the great privilege and pleasure to welcome a very dear friend and a really amazing human being, artist extraordinaire, and just a beautiful soul. Her name is Michelle Starburst LaVon. And before we get into the show, I would love to invite you to make sure that you subscribe and hit a 5-star rating on your podcast app so that I get the most follows possible and the word spreads about courageous love now and sowing the seeds of hope. Also, if you're interested, you can check out my website at harmonize1.com/podcast to find all the recent podcasts and much, much more. And now, on to our show. Hello, beautiful Starburst, Michelle LaVon. Welcome to
hello,
Courageous. Hello, you. Welcome to Courageous Love Now. And I believe that we are going to sow some seeds of hope in the next hour. And I would love to just invite a little introduction from what I know of this beautiful human being to this show. Michelle Starburst, aka LaVon, is an amazing performer extraordinaire on many levels. She's a circus performer, fire, aerial, stilt. She's a dancer. She's a poet. She's works with lightning, literally. I'll let her explain that more. She's an actress. She sings every now and then. And she's a choreographer. And among that, she's a deeply spiritual, beautiful, shining light, and always has been in my life. And I am so proud to have her on my show as my second guest. So welcome, Michelle, to Courageous Love Now. Oh, I'm a little emotional.
Thank you.
My
As am
sister.
I. Thank you. Yes.
Aww.
It's so beautiful. It's in so many of those I've been able to, that's how really we first connected, was through the performance world, but not just that we were out there playing with fire or dancing with wings or something, but that the way we did it and the way that we shared it had so much light that wanted to just come and play with all the other elements. And so yeah, it's like, yeah, I just hear that it's like, yep, we've done that together, that one. That haven't got you in the lightning yet, but otherwise.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
beautiful.
It is a delight and a joy to be here. Thank you. That's
yeah.
This is wonderful.
So opening up, this topic of sowing the seeds of hope. You are definitely someone who, as you just said, always shines light. And I don't, with all the challenges I know personally that I know about your life, and you can share whatever you feel, but I feel like no matter what challenge hits you, you have a way of just holding that light, the light of possibility, the light of hope, the light of determination, and courage, right? I mean, true courage. And I've seen that in you in so many different, situations. And I think I would love to kind of open the floor, open the conversation around hope, around courage, and, maybe even the recent days, maybe past times. I mean, what your relationship with that and how you dance with using your creativity and your channel as a spiritual, amazing, creative person in this world that kind of goes, on numerous different cycles up and down, and how you manage that.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, for me, hope and hope, faith, uh, being seen at the optimistic side of things, or the silver lining. There's been many ways that people have, like, oh well, you do that. Like, well, I choose to do that. I do see the other options, and that is
Mm,
something that I know I'm blessed, because it's sometimes easier for me to choose something to see the lemonade in all the lemons, although I just love lemons as they are. But and even that for me is part of it. I do have, really, there's, I think for me, there's the hope, and there's the faith, and there's all the other adjectives of what connects us to things that keep going, things that give us new ideas when we need something to turn on a light in a very dark space.
mm,
Uh, Whatever you use to connect with that, for me, I know that there is something there, and whatever
mm,
you call it, it's not guessing. I've felt it. I know it. Uh,
mm.
Everything that's amazing, I think, has come through it, or because of it, or in unison with, however you
Yes.
feel that. It I don't know how it's going to show up. I know that I have made myself blind to what I've been looking for by uh, being so angry that I can't find it, that my eyes are shut, kind of a thing.
Mhm, mhm,
And in those moments, I'm reminded, and I'm very grateful those moments do not outweigh the ones where I see the silver lining, and I connect to the rainbow that is just over there. Just, I'm real wet right now, but I can connect to that.
mhm,
It Those outweigh the ones where I have been disconnected from that.
mhm,
But and that is a blessing. And I think that I have felt that, then I can share that with others. And a lot of the time that does come through creativity for me, because I
mhm.
didn't always have the words to tell people that, no, you
Yeah.
have this light inside of you, and this is how you can connect to it. Like, you and I have, I think, helped each other even find the
Mhm.
English human words for some of this dialogue
Mhm.
that we
Mhm,
felt, and we could express in dance, and we could express through a smile or even a hug. You
mhm.
I remember my first time meeting you, and like, you bounced, you almost flew across the floor. There was so much just joy coming out of you. I'm like, I must know this person. Hello, thank you. And that, when we are able to put into our craft, and our crafts, one of our shared crafts is dance. And dance to me, is many things. There, you can say there's a trained discipline, and so I have done that. But there is communication in movement, and everything is vibration, everything is energy. But I have been upset and not known why, and started dancing, and suddenly just this, like, release of a arm or a head, and I'm like, oh, that's what I was not paying attention to. I can hear it now. It's a meditation. It's a way to not hear all the chatter in the mind.
Mhm, mhm.
um when dancing for myself in that space. But dancing for myself is sometimes on a stage with a lot of people watching, and I can
Mhm,
still find that space of clarity, and let others share in that and experience that, and do with that
mm,
what they will, whatever that
mm.
is to them or not.
Yeah.
And
May I ask, I mean, you come
it's
from a
yeah, please.
faith background, right? I mean, your background, you were Mormon, I believe. Is that correct? Or you had like a faith
Yes,
background?
yes, very. Well, I would say that I have been and continue to be a very faith-based person. Like, my
Mhm,
faith is very much a part of me. But
mhm.
yes, my childhood and a lot of my family was a religious background, and to me, there
Right.
is a difference in that. Like, the faith is
Yeah.
still there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the religion, there's also a culture, because it is
Yes.
generations of my family. So
Yes.
there are cultural things that,
Yeah.
like, I'm really big into genealogy. I could go on
Mhm.
for a long time. I've just made new discoveries about my lineage, actually.
Amazing.
Like, and that is something
That's
that I love, that I got.
Mhm,
Like, oh, it's
mhm.
ridiculous. Finding different ancestors and lines. I
Yeah.
actually found Native American recently, and I was over the moon excited,
Wow.
because it's a culture I've always been connected to. I have
Yeah.
adopted family who are Ute, and grew up, my best friend was Navajo, and just like growing up with
Wow.
those, it's always been side by side a culture that I
Mhm.
loved. But way back in like the 1700s or something, I'm like, ooh, a dot,
Wow.
cool. Like, and so that is something that came with the
Yeah.
culture of that, and I love that.
Yeah.
But the Mormons, like some of your other, well, I think all religions that anywhere get a voice that then they're outnumbered, have
Mhm.
experienced persecution. The
Yeah.
Mormons experienced it to a point where they were driven across the country, being tarred and feathered, and their things burned behind them.
Mm.
Those were my ancestors. Like we go back. That's what I'm saying. Culturally,
Yeah.
religiously, like I go back in
Yeah.
it, and was raised with that, with a pride of like they are tough, they are strong. Have you
Yeah.
ever pulled a hand cart? Because I did one time. Oh my goodness, it's not fun. Like I did it for, I don't know, 15 miles, and I was ready to like get in my car and go. And I'm not
Mhm.
doing that across the country.
Mhm.
But, there was that sense of people of faith and people whose faith is so important that they would
Yeah.
sacrifice, that they would leave their families in Europe, which some of my people did, and come to America, that they would, get in a line of wagons and handcarts and people just walking to
Mm.
this place called Utah that was not even part of the country. Uh, so that was a sense of added devotion to any of
Mhm.
the stories I could hear. Is these were my people. And that's in my blood. And
Mhm.
that is still, and I was really into genetics. And so I actually knew I still carried
Mhm.
some of their DNA
Did you
because it wasn't
learn
that far back.
Yeah, did
Mhm.
you learn about that when you were quite young, or is this more recent that you learned about your
Oh no,
ancestry,
very
or
young.
very young? Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah.
So it really
The
rooted you
the
in that, like,
yeah,
historical. Yeah. Okay. Mm.
very much. Yeah. That
Mhm.
this I knew some of my roots very early on. Like any of
Mhm.
the Utah pioneers, which is what they call people who were there before the railroad. Like if
Mhm.
you got there before the railroad did, you settled it. That was most of
Right.
my family.
Wow.
There was other stories that we knew as well of like
Mhm.
ancestors on the Mayflower or just different stuff. So like there was a pride in
Yeah.
America. There was a pride in your religion. There's a pride in just your family. My family is
Mhm.
really connected and big, and
Mhm.
and I love them.
Yeah.
They're great. Like and we
Mm.
have a strong family. If I need people,
Yeah.
like we may not always agree, but if I
Right.
need something,
Yeah.
they're there.
You have support.
And that
Yeah.
is something that I am blessed. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
and I can't say, like, how like, what that has done for my life because I am
Mm.
able to, be confident and fall, and people have picked
Mhm.
me up. People have literally helped me get back in the country when I got myself stuck in a different one on a show that didn't pay me. I
Oh,
got stuck
wow.
in, Indonesia, and my mom and grandma got me home.
Wow.
So,
Beautiful.
these things happen.
Yeah.
I am not courageous as an island, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, obviously the faith has given you, as you said, that strength and that conviction and all of these things that has kind
Yeah.
of helped you to have the courage to do the things that you want in life,
Yes.
including breaking away from your religion and remaining faith-based and spiritual, right? I mean, from what I understand. And you can explain that more
Yeah.
if you feel. Yeah,
Well, and
yeah.
one of the
Or
one of
maybe not.
so
No.
the little Mormon history. Uh
Yes.
no, hey, if you want to, I'm going with the flow. This is where the flow's
No,
going. I'm loving
totally.
it.
The
I'm
flow's
going.
going. I love
But
it.
so the the founder of the Mormon faith, a guy named Joseph
Yeah.
Smith, who really, like, the stories that I heard as a kid and the stuff that was encouraged was that he went and prayed in the woods to ask God which church was true because there was a bunch of them
Mhm.
around in New England, and he's like, "Eh."
Yeah.
Now, I was encouraged on this same thing. Instead of saying it was discovered, this one's true, and take it. I was
Mhm.
encouraged to follow suit, to pray, to listen, to
Mhm.
really spend that time. What is my truth?
Mhm.
And from a very young age, that started me on a journey of listening and developing my sense of intuitiveness very early on.
Yes.
And really young, to the point that I would get like almost signals, and my mom would be like, "Oh, that happens. We get that. We're Scottish. We're we got that." Like she called it fae, but it's kind of like a
Mhm.
sixth sense of just like, yeah,
Mhm.
we sometimes have that. Like I'm 8 years old, going, "I feel funny. Nothing's wrong." She's like, "It could be something else." Okay, cool. I'm not crazy.
Right.
Wonderful.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But that um, instead of just saying this is the truth and repeat, 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 repeat,
Right.
that was the difference.
You were taught to listen and
I was
to your
taught to
own
listen.
truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
is find the truth.
Yeah.
I do believe that was told to me thinking you'll think this is true. That it was not exactly where my
Right.
journey led.
Right.
But I know I very much believe that we co-created what we come into. It's
Right.
not an accident that I came into a very religious childhood, and I was a very religious child. Like I was, when asked where I wanted to be baptized, I said where Jesus was, because
Mhm.
they don't baptize babies; they baptize you when you're 8.
Yeah.
Um, I was, if I'm gonna do something, I mean, you know this about me. If I do it, I'm doing it. I'm committed. If I'm in, I'm in. That's what I'm doing.
Totally.
And
Totally.
I totally did. And as a child, I gained so
Mm.
much. I was part of a
Mm.
wonderfully strong community that taught me not just about faith, hard work, commitment, dedication. And as I continued to grow and listen to my intuition,
Mhm.
it was much more about faith and actually more being out in the woods than in a building per se.
Right.
Um, I love
And did
buildings.
your
Sometimes they're great.
did your creativity start at a young age as well? I mean, did you
Oh
feel like
yeah,
the dance and all of
yeah.
that, was that there from the get-go?
From the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it is, I think, related to just dance and fluid. Some of it's related to flight.
Mm.
I saw my first ballet when I was 4, and
Mhm.
they were flying. They were graceful and beautiful and flew across the stage, and I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started in lessons at 6. It took me a couple years to, I think, get my parents on board.
Mhm.
And at 4, I think they thought 4, yeah, a little young.
Yeah.
But, I started choreographing at 6 also. I remember the first dance
Amazing.
I made my best friend, like, she was not a dancer, but she's like, "Sure, I'll pantomime with you." We're
Right.
playing make believe, right? Like, what do kids do? We play make believe. Like, if you played make
Yes.
believe with me, 75% chance you were learning a dance for
Yes.
most of my
Amazing.
childhood.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it, actually did shows in my backyard when I was like 9 and 10. We had a little concrete layout. I made
Mhm.
glittery programs and tickets for like my mom
Of
and my
course.
friends' moms. But no, I've been doing this my whole life. I'm still doing shows in my backyard.
Of course.
um, I
As you
haven't
do.
changed much. It's what
Yeah.
you do. Um, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's very much. But yeah, the uh, I don't think I've ever thought about my journey as going away from things, of more just feeling into where that next step goes.
Right.
I mean, I think sometimes we get obsessed with going towards something, whether
Right.
it's like I have a friend who, put on some, what you call it, COVID 20 or something like that. She's put on
Mhm.
some weight hanging out. And so she's going towards a body, but in her mind, it's actually the body she used to have. And so I
Right.
find that interesting that there's this, I'm going towards that like I used to be. I want it back. Like, wait a minute. Uh,
Mhm.
there's a circular thinking there that sometimes can be fun. I like
Mhm.
merry-go-round sometimes, but um, I never tried to go away from being part of uh, a certain, like if I was on a path of being a religious person, I never tried to go away from that. I
Right.
was on my path and the next step and then the next step. And this one
Evolving
felt
it
good.
to whatever
Yeah.
felt authentic to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that,
Um,
I mean, from how we kind of started, that interweaving between the faith and the spirituality and then your art, did you, I mean, obviously the art was there, as you said, 4, 6, 8, and of course the faith was too, but did you really feel that conscious awareness of how, as you said at the beginning, that you really knew through your dance that you were tapping into something bigger? I mean, did you
no,
feel?
that was
Mhm.
not there right away.
Mhm.
I mean, the bigger I experienced is bliss early
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
and I did not connect them. Um,
Right.
I remember, when I was 11, 12, working with a dance company, little teeny kid parts, but I was on the big stage in the,
Mhm.
performances, and that feeling is akin to something that now I experience as like tapping into the higher realms of awareness. As an
Mhm.
11-year-old, I was over the moon excited, and that was the only way I
Right.
connected to it. Um, the spiritual development started really young. I mean, I remember getting lost meditating on fire as a young kid, like losing the sound of people trying to talk to me. They had to kind of like shake my shoulder. I'm what? Oh, sorry. I
Right.
was in the silent part in the middle, and they're going the silent part. Like, no, the little it's clear in the middle of the fire. And like I'm four, and I'm in the
Right.
fire.
Right.
That's been there. The being able to sense things and in tune to talking to animals or trees or just like the sense of everything has a vibration has been with me since I was a child. That
Mhm.
those connecting to my arts really came no, much later, like probably not till my 20s when I
Okay.
was more discovering myself
Right.
and trying to be like on my own being projected to the world, which ebbed and flowed on how much I projected and shied or over projected
Yes.
and under projected and figuring all of that out.
Yeah.
That is when they
Yeah.
started to connect.
Okay.
Is when um some of it was very natural. I started doing more ceremonies at that same age also, connecting
Mhm.
to like a lot of the Celtic ceremonies.
Performance
I
type stuff. Oh,
Some are
beautiful.
performance, but some even
Mhm.
just like Samhain is the Celtic New Year. And I started
Mhm.
celebrating that about 2021. And I've celebrated it every New Year since then. So just my life started to have different rituals come into it.
Right.
Started doing some more definitely by the time I'm spinning fire, which is I started spinning fire about mid 20s.
Okay.
Um, that I think was that part of me saying I'm ready to join everything together because we're gonna light some stuff up.
Right. Right.
um, I had, as a lover of the history of things and history of dance, had learned by that point also, the ancient Egyptians really is where we get some of our earliest dance, and it was ritual.
Mhm. Mhm.
You follow through obviously the um, what I mentioned about Native American, like I was taught to put up a teepee when I was a kid, and we
Mhm.
did a dance around the ground before you put up the teepee, and you're connecting with the feeling of the earth on your feet. And my
Mhm.
Uncle Fred, who was my grandma's foster brother, but just Uncle Fred's part of the family. So Uncle Fred is teaching all of us kids how to do this in a circle and to feel the earth and communicate with our feet to the earth. And
Mhm.
I didn't connect this to the ballet that I did on a stage or the couple of lines
Right.
I said in a play. Those were somehow different in my childhood.
Right.
Um, it was so I'm trying to even now piece it together because it was very natural how these things that I've known and I've intuited or I've been aware of um,
Mhm.
all just kind of came together
Right.
naturally, step by step. Is I look at it as I put a compass heading on life. Like I want to
Mhm.
feel this, I want to experience this, and
Yeah.
uh, I don't know how I'm going to get there, what it's going to look like always. But I just want that, and then I start going.
Right.
um, that's how
Yeah.
a lot of things have shown themselves for me to choose them or not,
Right.
and still go that way.
And did you go through phases of your art? Like, as you said, dance obviously was the first, and then it was kind of fire, and so, or what did it all kind of I don't know, how would you say, like you were all of a sudden you were studying everything, or did they kind of all like add on to the next to the next? Like,
They kind of added on to the next. Yeah,
hmm
definitely dance
hmm
started, like I said, early. That was
hmm
really like an early love. Fire started just as like a meditation thing, but as far as
hmm
something to do and that I had to, and I would sacrifice for. Dance is so early on as something that I just loved.
Yeah.
A lot of my childhood was spent dancing, and a lot of
hmm
my life has been spent
Yeah.
dancing, and I'm so grateful because it's a
Yeah.
friend that's now with me.
Totally.
Um, uh, I started acting well a little as a kid, but I wasn't very good at it as a kid.
hmm
Um, and this is horrible. My first audition, I bombed because they wanted me to pretend to be sick, and my mom was in the room, and I had pretended to be sick to get out of going to school, and I didn't want her to recognize the faking it. So I blew the audition because I didn't want mom to know that I was good at faking being sick. Like I'm
Oh
like
my
7.
gosh, that's
So
hilarious.
I I felt like I wasn't a good actress as a kid because I was like, "Oh no, this like gives it away that I can
Right.
pretend
Right.
stuff." But as a dancer, that was fine. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't open your mouth in ballet. So I wasn't a good actor as a kid because it somehow the anything pretending in life gave that away. And I was
Yeah.
not a bad kid, but still that was my worst audition.
Oh, that's
um,
so cute.
um, really it was high school, I think that acting started to be fun. I was
Mm-hmm.
in the drama, and I went to a small school, so I was able to not only be in the plays, I was a choreographer, I was a makeup artist, I helped build the sets. It was
Of
kinda like summer
course.
stock.
Amazing. I love it.
So, we would I fell in love with it.
Mm,
It was a similar feeling that I got when I was dancing, that I was
right.
finally, like, in a group that let that sort of thespian come out and play and go, "Oh,
Yes.
it's the stage, not the dance. Got it.
Right.
Okay. This is how I
Right.
feel alive." Because that really wasn't
Right.
what I felt alive on stage, and I didn't
Mhm.
always feel that way growing up. Like, I felt like I was getting stuff done, and I'd be, like, there would be moments of like, I think life is just that way, but,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, I just things lit up on stage, and
Yeah.
that was a way to connect to that before I knew how to just connect to that.
It's interesting as you were saying it, what comes up for me is the being present, because
Yeah.
somehow when you're on stage it kind of commands you to be present, because if you
Mhm.
have an audience, obviously you are in the present moment and you have eyes watching you, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced a similar thing too, with like, it really took me a while to get that bridge because I started acting much later in life, but getting that bridge of like the performer mode of like, you know, the dancer that I have become has was so much more authentic than the actor, because then I was like, oh, I'm performing, oh, I have to be this, and the dancer's quite a perfectionist because you got to get like everything right, right? Where the actor is more fluid, right? There's like you're tapping right into
Mhm.
emotions, so it has to come out through a different way, and I found that very interesting when I finally met the moment when presence arrived in the acting, and then I was just a channel, right? And you're not like working to it. I mean, I guess it's the
Mm.
same with dance, right? You're thinking about all your lines, you're thinking about choreography, you're thinking about everything, and all of a sudden the thinking brain goes away and you just drop in and you're
Yeah.
present with the choreography and you just trust that you know it. And I think it's the same thing that I went through with acting, but for me, I think it's even like public speaking. I kind of had a similar thing, like at the first, the nerves and, oh, I got to say the right thing, I got to please the people, I gotta and then when you just drop into that authentic self and you're present, right, then it all just kind of
Yeah.
flows, right? I think, yeah,
That's the magic.
yeah,
Yes.
totally. That's the juice, man. It's the juice. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and I I feel I got parts of that, but it was more like you say, it was experiencing that presence. That
Mhm.
was, kind of like a cheat where, I
Right,
think some people maybe, they have different ways of quieting their mind or of tuning into the present. And for me, like, put me up on stage and have like one person sit down and go, okay, I didn't even need
right,
people. That I remember like seeing an empty stage as a kid, like going, I'm just going to do a quick dance move. Right. Like
right,
it was something that, ooh, and I didn't even connect that it was a presence.
right,
Um, that took
right.
longer.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
of
was
course.
able to connect more when I became aware of it. And for me, some
Mm,
of it was actually more when I fell into the circus, which is what I feel like I did.
mhm,
That was not on my game plan.
mhm.
I saw fire at a warehouse party, sort of underground party, and it felt like it was talking to me. It was like, "You have to do this." I'm like, "Yes, I do." It was so
Mhm,
magical. Like, it was like that
mhm,
fire when I was a kid that I was a kid and I could lose track of time, and I don't care that I'm at a party or, what
mhm,
other people are doing or what they're thinking or what they're, none of that mattered. The fire was so magnificent.
mm.
And that was probably a couple months before my whole life just sort of reworked. I'm like, and now I make fire tools and I'm in a troupe and it was so fast. Um,
Of
that was in like
course.
this, uh, yeah, like 2006. I saw fire, something like that. And by
Mm.
2007, I had joined Lucent Dossier and I had started Red Swan Entertainment. Like my whole
Yes.
life switched, and it just felt like something
Amazing.
is just so meant to happen that
Yeah.
it just went. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
A year or two later, we started Skyfire. Well, Michael, but I
Right.
helped.
Of course. Yes. Of course.
um,
I
and
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
it was all very fast for
Mhm.
that, and
Do you
it's funny, like you're talking about courage or being brave.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Continue and I'll ask afterwards. Go ahead. I don't want to stop your train of thought there.
um,
Courage. Yes. Mhm.
all good. Uh, people look at things like fire or aerial or stilts,
Mhm.
and with Skyfire doing the light, dancing with the Tesla coil, high
Mhm.
voltage is a technical way of, I suppose, saying that. Um, they're like, "Oh, well, you're very brave for doing that." And people asked if I was scared the first time I acted, interacted with the high voltage in the chainmail suit or with fire. And really, I didn't have the wherewithal to think of to be scared. Like,
Mhm.
I have now been doing it long enough that I've even, like, had new people come up and they ask questions. They're like, "Oh, that would have been a good question to ask." I just went,
Mhm.
"Ooh, shiny." I was so present at that time in my life because I think I just been in such a state of say yes, say yes, say yes, that
Mm.
it didn't feel courageous to make those choices. It felt like something showed up. I said, "Yes, this is fun. Yay, that's pretty
Right.
and shiny. Okay, well, now that I'm doing this, let me learn." And I love safety, whether it's to me, doing it safely and intelligently allows me to keep doing it, whether we're talking with
Right.
our muscles or with high voltage or fire, any of it. Um, Doing that to me is not actually the courage part. Sometimes getting up on the stage early on felt more courageous to do anything
Mhm.
and just be
Mhm.
vulnerable. Actually having something really high voltage or fire helps distract from that. So it's less about me and more about that sometimes. So I think that helps a lot of performers be like, it's not me, it's on fire. Versus like as a dancer, even like we have the movement, but there's also just, I mean,
Right.
any performer, so much of us is
Right.
vulnerable. And that to me is, I think, where some of the courage was. But I still didn't experience it that way. It more just felt, well, this is fun, this is lucky, this is like challenging, like learning new
Mhm.
things and improving things so they're even safer. So they're experienced in a better way for the audience and for the performer. There's all these things we improve
Yeah.
upon. But really, when I look at like my own journey and examine things of courage, this last year of not being able to do all those things has required a lot more
Mm.
courage.
Oh, I feel
I've
you.
done a little bit,
Yeah.
but so
Yeah.
much of that being taken away is like, but I lost my therapy, I lost my connection to my friends, my community, I lost what keeps me in shape, which is also like mental, physical, spiritual, like everything keeps in shape.
Yes. Yes.
This has required more courage to go, okay, I still have an identity without all those things. I still have a
Right.
purpose. I still have a reason to do stuff. You know, that this
Yes.
has actually required a different kind of courage, which I experience as courage. Like I forget to, like in the presence
Mhm.
of the excitement of performing, which is not always the same as presence. Excitement could take me out of presence, but in all of
Yes.
that of performing and creating, whether for myself or I'll get excited with other people that have like give me feedback of something that is meant to them, which the over the
Right.
moon excitement. And
Yes.
that to me has never felt like I need to summon my courage. I need my faith to do this. It's like, no,
Mhm.
I get to keep saying yes.
Mhm.
But when all those things are not there, this has required more courage.
Mhm.
Um, which is also then, allowed for some more healing.
Mhm.
But no, so that was my thought. What was your
Yeah.
question, love?
No, oh, your video. Oh, there you are. What was I
There.
going to
Sorry.
say? Da, da, da. Now, did I lose my question? Oh boy, where was it
It
going?
will return.
It will return. Yes, yes. But
Yes.
no, I mean, maybe just like opening up the avenue of the last year and how your journey with courage of having those things stripped away, how you've kind of reshaped that. Maybe if you want to talk towards that, that would be beautiful.
Yeah. Um, well, there's been some ups and downs. Part of
Yeah.
it, I'd be lying if I didn't say there was depression that was in part of that.
Yes. Hmm.
And as much as there is in our culture, especially, but in a lot of cultures, we sort of shy away from it, like, well, that's not pretty. It's like, go hide that
Right.
away and come back when it's pretty again.
Right.
But
Right.
I think we're denying part of the beauty of that journey. I do not believe that there is functionality in wallowing, but in
Hmm.
allowing slumps and allowing a depression and allowing a funk, even a melancholy. I have
Hmm.
had so much personal benefit from allowing that rather than denying it. Because when I really
Yeah.
allow it, um, uh, magical things happen. For one, I discovered horrible pains and then get to release those because I'm actually carrying them. They're not just
Hmm.
suddenly there like a thorn I sat on. It's like it's been inside of me the whole time. So when I
Yeah.
commit to that rather than denying that, I can let it go.
Mhm.
And
And you mean
there's been some of those in this last year.
like physiological
Yeah.
pain or emotional? Okay, got it. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
So
hear
that,
you.
when we go into that, sorry, I didn't clarify that.
No, no, just want to make sure
But
'cause
very much so that
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and those they can of course manifest into a physical pain if you're carrying around something in your energy body. But
Mhm.
these,
Mhm.
um, the I think part of to me of listening to the title of your show and preparing, I'm like, okay, what am I going to share? I have no idea. This is exciting. It's when you open with courageous love now, and you say it many different ways. It's like
Mhm.
I like when you're saying lines and you suddenly discover a different meaning in the line because you shouted it, and that one word makes more sense being shouted when you're practicing as an acting piece.
Mm.
The way that you say the courageous love now, the first of your broadcasts I listened to, I thought of my grandparents,
Mm.
who are courageous in their love to me because they have lost a lot, and they are still open to love and still open to
Mhm.
lose. And I mean, they're in their 80s, so they've had time to do
Mhm.
this, but
Mhm.
they're not shut off. There's nothing shut off about these people. They are so just excited for love and
Mm.
adventure. And I mean, they moved during COVID, which was retarded, but still good. They moved from Vegas to a small town. I think it's probably better.
Yeah.
But they're on a whole
Mm.
new adventure. They were ready to sign off this body adventure, and they're on a new one. They
Yeah.
lived in a town
Yeah.
they've never lived in. I mean, they're with family, but like they've never lived there. There is a courageous because they keep trying. They know what it feels like to lose. They've lost children, they've lost grandchildren, they've lost a lot of their friends, they've lost,
Mhm.
they're starting to lose parts of their abilities, mental, physical,
Mhm.
things like that. But there's a courage in that they keep doing.
Yeah.
And so when I, on this last year, really get into going, okay, well, whatever is going to be experienced, I know I can
Mhm.
survive it because,
Yeah.
well, that's easy. Thriving is sometimes harder. Surviving, we're good at that. I don't want
Yeah.
to always get stuck in my survival mode, but it's sometimes just to comfort it. Go, okay, things have happened.
Mhm.
Good, bad, challenging. Have I paid attention to them? Have I ignored it? Is there some sort of unfinished business? Whatever that is, it's okay. And that was
Mhm.
powerful for me, is to just tell myself, and sometimes that was my inner child self or my like all these versions of myself that I carry as a memory that
Mm.
compile into the self. It's
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
because some things are funky, or
Yeah.
it's okay. And the
Yeah.
stuff that came up surprised me. I learned, I
Mhm.
actually met parts of myself in this last year, parts of my things that I do think sometimes when there's something traumatic, and when you're a kid, life is traumatic. Like, oh,
Mhm.
that didn't like me. It can be just traumatic. I remember a
Right.
boy I thought was cute laughing at me when I fell and hurt my butt, and oh, it just moved me. I didn't have a crush for years after that. Stuff is
Oh,
traumatic when you're a kid.
totally. Oh
So
my
you
gosh,
have to,
totally.
right? Like we carry the
Mm.
strangest things, and so when those things come up, if you still feel that, we are actually
Mm.
still carrying that, and it mutes, it morphs into being part of our present. But that
Right.
was a long time ago that girl fell and hurt her butt on the sidewalk. Like
Right.
I don't need
Yeah.
to carry any disappointment
Right.
of the expectations of that kid. And so
Yeah.
all of those coming up, one, I got to know myself. That's always interesting. I'm a storyteller. But that was actually what I did with it because I felt I was disconnected from
Mhm.
connecting to the outside world as I started writing, which is another
Mhm.
old love of mine. I started writing poetry when I was about 9 or so. I wrote, was writing a pilot for a TV show that I finished last month. I've basically wrote a lot of last year, journals, scripts,
Mhm.
movies, plays. There's anything I could write because I had to
Everything.
express.
Mhm. Yes.
I I can't not be artistic, it seems, more than like a day or 2, something has to come out. I'm gonna start
Yeah.
painting the walls, and I'm not a painter, but writing is, when I feel I can't connect, when there isn't a stage for me, when there aren't
Right.
a group of people that I can teach a dance to, I can write, and I
Yeah.
can let what feels it needs to come out and be shared for myself, for others, for just to surrender and let it be shared for whatever that is.
Right.
That I kept saying yes to, and some of the stuff was for me, and that's in the journal. And some of the stuff I'm hoping is good enough to
Mm.
share with other people, and they can get whatever, entertainment, lessons, inspiration, whatever comes from it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
but
think that like journey
yeah.
of expression, right? I mean, it's like so And I think that that's like also where I found just doing the podcast and having listened to podcasts and being touched by them and realizing it is just like another art form of expression and connection and right. And I guess that's the thing. Like human beings all have the potential to be creative. We all have the potential to be present and feel love and feel courageous. Like these are all like birth given things that we have. And many people, I think, go around in the world thinking, oh, I have no connection to that. Like, okay, naturally, you were attracted to dance as a 4-year-old. Like the first inclination I remember of like performance, my mom took me to see Jesus Christ Superstar when I was 4. And I will never to this day forget that,
Oh,
like that play and the music and the everything, the
yeah.
emotion around it and the performance and,
Mm,
kind of a combination of spirituality and performance. But yeah. Um,
yeah.
but I think that, just in reflecting where we go into areas where we're truly challenged, because there's been numerous times in my life where I didn't have the avenue or I went down this path. And so I had to kind of put performance on the side. And then I was a yoga teacher, but I was still connected to my body and I was still at the service of others and connecting somehow. So, as you said, like going from being a physical performer and having an audience, you're now on a pen and paper. And I know also I, write as well, just as you said, like I think as the instrument, if we don't play it in whatever facet that we have, it gets clogged up, right? It's like, and you see so many people that
Mm,
fall into depression or fall into whatever that they're living or illness, etc., not able to tap into their instrument because they have never been taught how. And I think that like for me, I've
mm,
always felt so grateful that I had dance. I mean, dance was like church to me. I was able to go there, forget about
mm,
everything else going on in my life and like connect to source. I don't think I thought about it like that then, but when I look at how it served me through my life, as you shared, it's saved me. It truly saved me,
mm.
my
Yeah.
my creativity. And I think that that's like even more now so fundamental for people to know that like starting, you don't need to be a professional at it. It's like I bought a ukulele a year and a half ago and I've been like playing around with the ukulele and like, oh, I wrote a song and I actually wrote the chords and like I've never done anything like that.
Oh,
And oh, sorry, I'm just getting an
fun.
update here. Remind me later. There we go. So yeah, I guess, oh my goodness, what's happening? Sorry, got a little window opening. Close this. Where's my Zoom? You disappeared. There you are. Okay. Updates on my computer here. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's just so beautiful and hopeful for listeners to hear that, even the people that hold bright light and can be a beacon for others also have moments where they're stuck in a hole or they're, challenged or but that like continuous um you can call it discipline, we can call it practice, however, of going back to being of service, to letting ourselves be a channel for what needs to come through and
Mhm.
finding the right outlet to express it in whatever way that is. And that could be in, being a mother and like taking care of the kids and creating dinners or whatever, but I mean, truly being knowing
Absolutely.
that that is a source that you have a way to be creative. And I think art and creativity it's the best medicine around, like, yeah.
Well, I mean, we're
Mm.
biased, but absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
I heard it on a documentary. I'm a huge documentary nerd. I love them. But there was one, it was is on jazz, and he was saying how arts really help teach the all of us about our humanity, and they make others less others. And
Right.
I thought that was such a beautiful thing. And to me, I love music. I That is not something I was gifted with the wow that I love to appreciate. And so just I think I
Mhm.
sometimes can appreciate it all the more. Rather than sometimes as a dancer, I'm like, I can do that, which is horrible, but my brain goes there. And I can surrender any hope. Like when I start listening to a talented musician, I just like, you know what? I'm just there. Wow. I can
Right.
feel it and I'm touched and I can just like be in their presence rather than
Yes.
trying to experience it as a performer, which
Right.
is
Right.
a different thing.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, I can also do that with dance, but I have to not let that part of the mind come into the play.
The little
It's a good part of the mind.
ego performer. Trust
Little
me, I know that
ego
one.
that's
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
God bless it.
I
But
feel
no, it has
you.
place and time. Not
Yes.
when I'm,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
it is, I say that I love how you said it was so beautiful about just being that channel for that to come through, because that
Mhm.
very much is, I feel very much, a friend of mine once said that if you feel you have a purpose in life, you're right, you do.
Mhm.
He very much was that believe that what we, that what we aspire to, what we commit to, very much has created it. That is our is. Uh,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so when I tell him, I'm like, no, I feel this is my purpose, and he's like, well, then you're right. And I'm so sorry.
Bless you.
Pardon me. Sorry for that.
No
Um,
worries.
Thank you. Uh, but whether, it's because I assigned it in my mind or it came with me, or however it all works out, I have always
Mm.
felt certain links that very much of a purpose. And a lot
Mhm.
of them feel that the way it is achieved is through arts. But that
Yeah.
is not to say that, even like you say, podcasts or conversation, or there's many things that are arts. And
Mhm.
to being open and present and listening, going back to
Yeah.
that child that was told to listen,
Yeah.
and to what the intuition is saying and what the spirit is saying. And
Totally.
that has made so much more for me, for things that I love arts, I love dancing, I love,
Mhm.
in any forms, pictures, movies, paintings, every, I don't, on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
um but I know my enjoyment of sharing them and creating them is so much more because of that connection to purpose.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it comes up in all sorts of ways. But
Mhm.
I feel very fortunate with that, and
Yeah.
I love to share that. If other
Yeah.
people feel that in themselves, that they can connect.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
not have to be on a world stage to feel that your art in anything, like you say, parenting or anything. There's all these things
Mhm.
are arts that
Mhm.
that connection with other people, that is
Yeah.
something we all need, and it comes
Well,
through to share. Yeah.
totally. I was just going to say, I was having the analogy of a gardener, right? And just like thinking of how gardening is such an art form and it's such a meditation and
Yes.
all of that. And I've never
Yes.
really been a gardener, but both my parents, my dad was like an epic gardener and has grown food up until his recent days that he's not able to anymore. But that in itself, I think the gardener, of course, there is the art there, but the appreciation of people, smelling the flowers, eating the food and the fruit is almost where the real payback is.
Hmm.
It is sharing it. It is truly the interconnection then of like
Yes.
sharing my creation,
Absolutely.
right? And that is, I totally agree with you. It's like, when someone can read something I wrote and get touched by it, that's where the fulfillment. And as much as we can say,
Yeah.
okay, it's that we have to put our little performer ego self to the side and know that it's coming from heart, because true heart,
Hmm.
true creativity wants to share. That is what it's
Yes.
for. It's like, right?
Yeah.
Creation
And
is
it
to
is
be
so
shared.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
Yes.
nothing more fulfilling because it is love. I mean, that I think the true creativity is the essence of love. It's truly what we're here to do. We're here. I mean, love itself is an art form, right? I mean, we can
Such
learn
an art.
so much, such an art form in every level, conscious love or, maternal love or relationship love. I mean, it's an art form in itself, and it's something we have to just constantly keep learning, get our ego out of the way and come back to love.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. I love you, Michelle. It's just so
Oh, I
good to
love
see your
you,
beautiful
Lara.
face.
It's so good.
Oh,
Oh, I love this. It's so great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So where to next? Where do we want to flow to next? Anything on your
Well,
heart?
when talking about love, um,
Mhm.
and we mentioned earlier, I know I'm getting ready to create a live stream on
Yes.
Valentine's Day. So speaking
Yes.
of love,
Yes. Perfect.
so it is actually, its theme is Amore, shades of Amore. But my company is illuminated. And so that I've done these, I'm doing a live stream. So it's a lot of me, but also some of my favorite performers are either sending in videos or we are going to have one or two also like on camera, like I'll go hide somewhere behind a mask and we're very, very COVID safe, but we are doing sort of a variety show, but all of it is based on illuminating. What
Mhm.
illuminates me, what lights me up, how do I light up the world? How do the people that light me up light up the world? And how can I share that for other
Yes.
people to be lit up? And sort of an
Fantastic.
illuminating journey. So we're doing 6 of these. But the first one on Valentine's of Illuminated Presents. But the theme is love, and like you say, there are many shades of love. And when I was first talking to my friend who's helping me in production, he's like, "Don't make it all about relationships." Now, I'm not trying to out him, but often people not in a relationship do not want Valentine's Day to be all about
All
relationships, and I
about,
get that.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
since I am very fortunate to be in a nurturing, loving relationship, I'm on the side of like I don't want to flaunt it. I want to share it and the beauty of it and
Mhm.
the amazing of it. But
Mhm.
it's a delicate dance. But the other thing to me is that to not underappreciate the other types of love.
Right.
Um, so that there are, the love of self, the love of our
Mhm.
expressions, as we've been talking about,
Mhm.
the love there's so many. We
Mhm.
both mentioned like parents or grandparents with love of family, but also their family, but their mentors. There's
Right.
many different versions of love, but a similar vibration across all of it.
Mhm.
And for that to be experienced and expressed, it has many ways. Even a love with a partner, you experience that love in many ways.
Mhm.
Our love for dance has had many shades to it over our lifetime that we're grateful for it, but boy, does it have some challenges and some stuff, and everything does.
Yeah.
And that is the beauty of it, I think, is,
Yeah.
it takes. It's not whether it's easy or not easy, because that I think is a misinterpreted word. But it takes
Mm.
commitment to love,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
stick with it.
Yeah.
And that to me is when you start, then it doesn't always have the same face. It doesn't always have the same understanding or way it fits. But
Mhm.
that diversity is so beautiful and so enriching. And so
Mhm.
to not shy away from it, to allow it in its many forms to come
Yes.
and come from us and come to us in both ways. So
Mm.
I'm excited to share many different shades of love
Yes. And
with
each of
people,
the 6 will
and
be a
I know I'm looking
oh,
forward to. Hmm,
oh, sorry, there's a
sorry,
little
go ahead.
delay there. Each of the 6 performances, there'll be a different topic. So this one is the shades of love, and then the next one will be a different theme. Is that kind of what you're doing with them?
Yes,
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct, not correctly. The second one is actually the only other one I have the exact date chosen, which is March 20th, and it's how does your
Mhm.
garden grow? But that
Beautiful.
one is actually not only I loved your garden meditate, your analogy. That might actually go
Mm.
into one of my monologues.
I
Little
love it.
borrowing from Lara.
Mhm.
But not only what are we sowing, what are we growing in our lives, what are
Mhm.
our things we are nurturing, but I also want to weave into that the roots we come from. Whether you're
Mm.
talking, I was talking about like my sort of pride and my hardy stock, like we were tough, we were like, I came from that. So everything
Yeah.
that I am creating comes from those roots. And so
Mhm.
that's the March show.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so each different theme, in a way, it was to me things that helped encourage the illuminating journey.
Right.
So love is some people's first way to connect with being illuminated is love. Things that we are growing, things we're proud of, whether you're talking your pets, which are my children, but or people's children, their plants, you're
Mhm.
growing, we can also experience being lit up by things we're growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but one of them is the shadows that move us. And
Mm.
dealing with our fears, overcoming fears can also light us up. So each
Mm.
each show has a different one. The little dance with Utopia. There's a perfectly imperfect in every way. There, some different ways of
Yeah.
looking at what lights us up, what is a expression. Yeah, so one each month for the next 6 months. But
I love
hopefully
it.
by then we'll see if we have a new way of connecting and sharing. I might get a different stage.
Yes,
For
exactly.
now, I just honestly
Exactly.
I felt inspired, and like it did with my fire, it happened so easily almost. It was like, well, this was a good one to
Right.
say yes to. Thank you for that
Yes.
touch. Okay.
Yes. Amazing.
Just
Oh,
go
I
with it.
can't wait. And I will be there. And hopefully I'll be willing enough and able enough to offer
Ah,
something. But who knows? If not this one, then the next one.
I look forward to that. Yeah, I
Yay.
saw that little teaser on a
Uh,
comment. I'm like, oh good, yes,
yes. I
bring
was
that.
like, yeah,
That's a
please,
light
please. Yeah.
that I want to bring, because yes,
Mm,
and that is exactly who I want to put on this. I mean, you and I
mm,
both know performers who are very talented, but it doesn't seem to light them up to share that talent the same as maybe someone who doesn't even have as much skill. I mean, I'm
right.
not talking about you and I, but like we've seen people on, like, let's say both sides
Right.
of us. Some people, they love it so much that you want to hire them. You want to convince the
Yes.
clients to hire them, even though, but look how happy they light up.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
there is that difference. And then I feel like very fortunate, like that,
Yeah.
you and I think connected because we were getting gigs. So we love it
Yes.
and we're good at it. So yes, we got
Yeah.
that crossover. It doesn't always cross
Yes.
over.
Yes.
I'm not so much trying to say, must be this talented to be on my show. That's not actually what I'm going for at all on this one. I
Yeah.
want people who, like, I was having dreams about dressing rooms. I was missing performing so much, like trying to find
Mm,
bobby pins
yeah.
and stuff. I want people who, this is their love. This is what we
Yeah.
love, to get paid for it. Who doesn't want that, honestly? Like, but that's not why we're doing it. That's not
Right.
the intention behind any of it.
Yes.
So everyone, the people doing production have missed their production. They love producing. But my friends, like, everyone is sharing their love. And
That's
unlike
fantastic.
sometimes when I feel like I've had to, ask in a lot of favors,
Mhm.
this, I'm more like, hey, I've got a
Mm.
venue. I have an idea. Who wants to play? And I am
Yes.
so just tickled and honored by what is showing up, and the beautiful beings. They're like, I want to play. So good. Yes, come
Oh, I
bring your
love
light.
it.
Let's
Yes.
illuminate some more people,
Yes, it's
Let's
that
bring
little girl in the
it.
backyard with glitter tickets and her performance.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm,
Totally.
you know,
Mm.
sometimes they say we don't change too much.
Yes, I
We stay the
totally
same.
follow you. Yeah. So where can people find you about the Shades of Amore? Where is that available to
Uh,
see or
so
to?
on Facebook is Illuminated Presents Shades of
Mhm.
Amore. On YouTube, I just started a new YouTube channel to put these on, because this is not, just about me. So I put it separate from like my
Right.
old fire videos and stuff. Which is Illuminated. Illuminated Presents. Yeah, same words.
Okay.
I had to think
On
about it. Like, did
YouTube.
I do the same words? So Illuminated Presents on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Facebook. Because there's a group on
Okay.
Facebook. YouTube or Facebook have the same one. And then there's also a link on there to sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to be doing a Zoom for people if they want to be able to. There's a couple of segments of times when I'm going to bring in, like, people and be on their live feed video for their Zoom.
Yeah.
Um, there's like, for instance, in the middle section, there's a move it. I know a lot of people I've been talking to don't exercise as much, whether you're a dancer or
Right.
not. Just, it's been a year
Right.
of not as much movement.
Yes.
So there's a middle section where I want people to join in and move with us. And I'm going to put the Zoom up on the
Fantastic.
screen behind me. So yeah, let's just have fun.
I
Let's
love
do our
it.
little movement.
Yes.
Whatever your movement looks like, that's perfect.
I love it.
So there is going to be a link if you want to sign up for the Zoom as well. So that
Okay.
is on the face, or it will be on the Facebook. It's not right now because I'm doing that later today.
Okay.
But here soon.
Amazing.
But by
Amazing.
midweek for sure. But yeah, so it's this Sunday, 7 Pacific. And yeah, and we'll
So
be putting on those
exciting.
same groups as the next ones come up. So the one that you'll be in, whatever future one, I look forward to
Yes.
sharing your
Perfect.
creations, and
Perfect. Yes.
that'll all be on
And
that
it's
same group.
great. And if people want to just find you and follow you, what are your places of finding Michelle LaVon, Miss Starburst?
Yeah, so LaVon, well, my website, which I'm sad to say is woefully under updated, is michellelavon.com,
Mhm.
LAVON. But also same name, Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Bursts of Star, like
Mhm.
my bursts, my creations.
Yes.
And I get a lot of fun with that one, trying to explain why it's bursts of star. But when you're Starburst, why not?
Yes.
um, but uh,
Amazing.
but yeah, definitely connecting through those ways. I would love for people to connect, and if there was anything people got inspired by, I'd love to hear that, or any dialogue. I think is beautiful. I'd love to hear
Absolutely.
that people were listening, and that I got to share this with you, and that's just
Yeah.
beautiful right there. And
Yes. Well,
thank
I'll
you.
share all of your links and stuff, of course, in the comment or in the
Oh,
text
thank you.
box below the podcast so people can find you directly. But always good. I always upload the videos on YouTube as well in case people come by it and watch it as
Oh,
opposed to
fun.
listening to it. So yeah. So we can be seen and we can be heard and we can be
Beautiful.
felt, most importantly.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, such a
Oh,
gift.
well,
Thank you.
we're just past an hour, and I would love to. Is there any last
Okay,
words that you
perfect.
feel to share about any topic that's on your mind, on your heart? Any
Oh,
final words
let's
to leave
see.
the audience?
Um,
Hmm.
well, the only word we haven't touched on in your thing is now. Really, I mean, we talked about presence a lot, but
Mm.
I'm like, okay, anything listening to this last moment, and it's in this now, which is actually, I don't know if you're a fan of Astarius, but I just heard his voice when I in this now. I hear his like wonderfully deep
Mm.
voice, but uh, I think that is really the thing that I would step out on is just being in this now and appreciating this connection with a dear loved one and just
Mm.
everything that is good, bad, whatever labels, but it is this now. So thank you for this.
Mm. Thank you, Michelle. Oh my goodness. So amazing to hear your voice and to see your radiant smile and eyes and just, yeah, to flow with you. Thank you for this gift and and let's do more in the
So
future.
amazing. Thank you. I'm feeling it. Yes,
Of
yes, yes.
course.
Please. I
Yes.
would
All right.
love that in many ways.
Yes. Oh,
Ah,
bless.
thank
All
you.
right, sweet,
Mm.
sweet, sweet lady. I will sign off. And this is Lara Helena and Michelle Starburst LaVon on Courageous Love Now, as we have sown the seeds of some hope for the last hour. I hope all of you have enjoyed this amazing broadcast and connection and unification of minds and hearts and spirit. And keep listening. Go and look up Michelle and see all of her amazingness for yourself. And we'll see you again soon. Bye, Michelle. Love you.
I love you. Thanks, love. Bye.
Of course. Bye. Hello, all you beautiful listeners. It is that time for a little shameless self promotion. If you've enjoyed this podcast or any of the previous podcasts I have recorded, I would be so grateful if you could subscribe and rate and possibly review down below. So, whatever your podcast listening app is, there is usually an area where you can leave a review of what you thought. Even just a few words can make a huge difference. And as I am new to podcasting, it will make even a bigger difference to just get the word out there and also see what you thought. Thanks so much for your support and keep on listening.